Hello, welcome back to the Week 10 review of the JMD and JTT League. It's serious now. Got some serious bye weeks out of the way. There's 4 weeks to go until the playoffs in both leagues or in both sets of leagues. There's teams out of it. There's teams already with a place in the playoff. So let's jump straight in. Let's jump straight in if I can remember what I'm doing. Here we go. Right. We'll start with the Dynasty League. We've got cup competitions getting to the final stages. It's all happening. And effectively, the Eagles are probably going to win the Super Bowl again, which is just a bit grim in not a particularly exciting fashion. Right. Let's start with the Brady division. So big wins. This week we had, summary before we go into the Dynasty, we had 3 teams who scored over 200 points. We had 2 teams who couldn't even manage 100 points. And just scores all over the place. Some big weeks, obviously, from running backs and various other things. So let's have a look at this. So owner of Brady moved on to 7 wins with 164 points scored in a big win over Chris Fox's Yeovil Town 49ers. 4-6 is a little bit of a worry at this point. Team Wild Guns got a win, 161 to 141 ahead of Renisha Speed, whose season's never over. Playoff hopes are over at 2-8. JMD Pod was one of the 200-point scorers, 214.96. H actually in one of our leagues scored 242 points this week in a single QB league. So it's not even Superflex. The previous record, bearing in mind this league's been going for 10 years, the previous record was 218. He absolutely smashed it in a few leagues this week, beating 5-yard rush Murph. In this one, let's quickly have a look at who he had in his team. Lamar Jackson at quarterback. Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor is a pretty good place to start if you want to win a week. The best part of 90 points between the two of them. Unbelievable. Nakua, Lad McConkey, Zay Flowers, all pretty solid. Gadsden disappointing, obviously going out injured. Barkley at running back. God, he's stacked at running back, isn't he? Baker Mayfield. So yeah, it was all on that. Jonathan Taylor and Jameer Gibbs 90 points or 88 points. And finally at the bottom, Never Dulling Hull, Jamie G 10 is doing a great job of building a defense for his title. 149 points this week was enough to move him on to 8 wins and hold the top spot. Jamie actually over the course of both seasons, Jamie's 17-7 in the regular season. So what's a cracking record there. So Never Dulling Hull lead the way at 8-2. Owner of Brady just behind at 7-3. Then we've got 2 teams at 6-4, including JMD, as we've just talked about. Wild Guns on the outside at 5-5. Yeovil Town 49ers through to the cup final, divisional cup final. We'll get to that at the end. But Yeovil Town 49ers 4-6, so 2 wins back with 4 weeks to go. Got the points to do it. Probably going to need to go 4-0 the rest of the way. Of Dokios and Renisha Speed, obviously both out of it at 2-8. Remember, I think it's worth pointing out at this point, the first pick in next year's draft goes to the team with the lowest. It goes to one of the teams in the bottom 4 will be ordered by lowest max points scored. So there's no point tanking, getting those two trying to fight it out doesn't get you anywhere. It's all done on what points you should have scored, which is clearly we think it's clearly the fairest way to do it. Moving on to the Elway division, we didn't have a 200-point scorer in this, but we did have 195. So Team 89 Monday getting back to 4-6 with 195. Absolutely smashed Dad's heads of the table, almost doubling up his score. One of the teams that did make it to 100. Above that, though, Pestle got the first win in 3, I think it was. I think I noticed Pestle was the lowest scorer in the division for the last 2 weeks, but managed to grab a win by less than a point against Suarez Power. 145.88 plays 145.06, and Pestle gets a 6-4. Big swing there because that would have taken both of them to 5-5. Instead, Suarez Power falls to 4-6. Team Dr. Dre, one of our rookies, 174 points, 7-3, 1 foot in the playoffs. Beat Chen Burns 142, and the JTT commish remains alive Did miss the playoffs last year, looking for his first playoff appearance. 178 points this week to beat DS Liddy. Gets him to 4 and 6. So Dr. Dre leads the way at 7 and 3. Pestle is 6 and 4. We then got 3 teams at 5 and 5 and 3 teams at 4 and 6 in one of the most competitive divisions that we've got. Everyone's still fighting. Everyone's still alive. Some big games coming up this week. In fact, let's quickly, we don't usually do this, but let's quickly have a look at where. So you've got the top 2 playing each other this week in Dr. Dre and Pestle, which means everything's a fight for below. The big game of the week might be JTT Commish against the Team 89 Monday, both 4 and 6. So the winner goes to 5 and 6, the loser goes to 4 and 7, and will be struggling from that point on. So a first playoff game, if you like, and then obviously got the 2 teams at 5 and 5 there. So all to play for everybody in the Elway division. In the Manning division, the top scorers, wrong button. The top scorers this week were my Penguins of 188 points to beat the Last Waltz 153, and needed that to move to 6 and 4. And just this division is not quite as close. We've got 2 teams there at 6 and 4. We'll get onto that in a minute. Team Gridiron leads the way at 8 and 2 after another win, 162 to Matty Leo's 132. PM Big Man's paid yes, got a win to get back to 4 and 6, 141 against Team Big Bods, who was the other team that didn't make 100 points this week. And at the bottom, our champion was beaten, only 106 points. Scuba Lee scored 179, and our champ is out, I think. Not mathematically, but it's not looking good. So Gridiron at 8 and 2, Scuba Lee at 7 and 3. My JMD Penguins and the Last Waltz, both 6 and 4, and then we've got a 2-win gap to Big Bods and PM Big Man's paid yes. So it's looking like it's going to be those 4, but a big run from Big Bods or PM Big Man. Matty Leo's looking out of it, and our champion Mungry Pablo won the title last year. Let's check. What was his record last year? His record was pretty flipping impressive, actually. 11 and 3. So we've gone from 11 and 3 to 2 and 8. It's all fallen apart for Mungry Pablo. So he will be looking for revenge in year 3 of the dynasty. Series in the Merino division. Another 200 points scored, and it was another one of the JMD boys. Ian's 223, Pips H's score, previously mentioned from the Elway division, to get his 8th win of the season. Smashed Rookie Ravens 144, who falls to 4 and 6. Team the Boy got back to 5 and 5 to keep their season bobbing along nicely, and MKC Papa loses another one to go to 2 and 8 and looking out. Brown Bear Rick, who, all being well, will be on the pod next week for the update. Looking forward to that, doing things a little bit differently. Moves to 5 and 5. Heidi Leo, neighbor Zeno beats, and he can pronounce it next week, beat Team Drift Edge, who falls 3 and 7. And then Surviving Taysom Hill was beaten with just 107 points. Dynasty Cowboys, reigning champion, moves to 6 and 4 and keeps himself in a solid position. So the Manchester Infernos, Ian's team at 8 and 2, Surviving Taysom Hill at 7 and 3, Dynasty Cowboys at 6 and 4, and then the Boy and Brown Bear Ricks, Heidi Leho at 5 and 5. Rookie Raven still out of it at 4 and 6, just on the wrong end of some big scores. 1,674 points conceded. It's a tough place to be. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Next week's going to be where everything starts moving along. Obviously, we've got the Champions League coming along, so we will preview that next week. But next week's, I think, where people start booking their places in the playoffs with only 3 weeks to go. Last but not least, the Montana League, which has been really close all the way. Our final 200-point score was Corgis Unite, 205 points to them. We didn't look at Ian's team, but we will look at the Corgis Unite team. Jackson Dart, 26 points before he finally went out with concussion. He's either going to win people leagues or custom leagues with the way he plays. Jonathan Taylor, I'm guessing, is going to be in most 200-point scored weeks this week. Aaron Jones with a pretty solid score. Alave, AJ Brown continues to disappoint pretty much all of his owners. I saw yesterday he said, if you've got me in fantasy, trade me away, don't play me. So he's obviously not got a lot of confidence that the team's going to change the way they're playing. Roma Dunze with 20 points. Trey McBride, the tight end one of the league, at 20 with 27. Keenan Allen a bit disappointing. Bo Nate's disappointing, but a good score from the Seahawks D. Sneaks him over that 200-point mark. Team Craigie Craig on the wrong end of that, so he falls to 4 and 6. Fiona got their Fiona 21, A21 got their third win of the season, ahead of JJB Good, who falls to 5 and 5. London Tube Raiders moved to 6 and 4 against Team Ryan Judge, and Jordan Dixon had the closest score of the week with just a 4-point victory over the Blair Walsh Project, which leaves the league like this: Ryan Judge, Corgis Unite, and the London Tube Raiders all at 6 and 4. The Blair Walsh Project, JJB Good, and Jordan Dixon all at 5 and 5. Craigie Craig at 4 and 6, and Fiona still in it at 3 and 7. Possibly a lot of work to do. Would have to go 4 and 0 and score some points, but keeps herself alive at 3 and 7. We've already talked, we haven't talked about it. I mentioned the cup. So the divisional cup winners, each division has a winner now that goes through to the finals of playoff this week. I've put that in the chat. You can see it there if you're looking on screen. So that's in all of your chats. But congratulations to Yeovil Town 49ers from the Brady division, who is a 2-time divisional cup finalist. Team 89 Monday from the Elway division. Team Scuba Lee from the Manning division, who's also a 2-time divisional cup finalist. Team Rookie Raven in the Merino division, and Team Craigo 84 from Montana. The top score of those 5 wins the £50 Just Eat voucher this week. So what I will do is I will update that graphic on Monday so you can see. So all those 5 people, obviously you can't see the other team scores, so I will update that on Monday. So you will have an idea of what the situation is going into Monday Night Football and the Cowboys Raiders. So we'll do my very best to keep that updated for everyone, so everyone's kept in the loop. Other than that, obviously that's the second cup competition will be coming to an end. Then we move towards, obviously we've got the playoffs and teams securing their playoff places. We've also then got the Champions League. For those of you who don't remember from last year, we have a Champions League, so the top 14 scoring teams at the end of week 12 go into our divisional Champions League to find the ultimate dynasty team across the league, and you get a little trophy and a voucher for that. We will also have it, because we've extended it to 48 teams this year. We will, and obviously only 14 can qualify for the Champions League. We'll have a 14-team Europa League this year as well. We have a slightly smaller prize, but still worth winning. So the next 14 teams will qualify for that. So I'll be trying to pull all of that information together and update everybody as to where we're at with that over the next couple of weeks. Before we go any further, I think that's it on Dynasty. So let's move on to redraft. Obviously 10 teams, slightly different. A couple of big scores in here when I was going through it yesterday as well. Half the gritty, Brown Bear Rick. This is probably why I didn't have him on this week. Smashed my Penguins by 20 points to move to 8 and 2 in Division A. 6 and 4. I'm still well in the running there, but would have been nice to get a win. And the bye is looking less likely the closer we get to the end of the season. Broken, beaten, and scarred adds team moved to 6 and 4 with a win against Providence. Steamroller Evdokios got back to 5 and 5. 155 points scored against Rookie Raven. DS Liddy got 157 points, which was more than enough to beat Seahawks Sixers, the final boss. And at the bottom, the long pink snapper moved to 5 and 5 with 154 points against Ram Raider. This is a pretty close division, apart from that one, obviously, Rookie Raven mentioned. Half the gritty Brown Bear Rick then leaves away 8 and 2. We've got 3 teams fighting for what looks like the second bye, including my Penguins and ads. We've then got 4 teams below that at 5 and 5, all still well in the playoff mix. And then Catch Me If You Can and DS Liddy 92 probably out of it there with only 4 weeks to go, and at least 3 wins off the top 6. So that's Division A. In Division B, I somehow beat the JTT commish with only 111 points. He's got 108 this week. Let's quickly have a look at what he left on the bench. Not a lot. Mariota. Could have played Mariota. No, wouldn't have got him anywhere. So, yeah, bye weeks and stuff hindered both of our teams. As you can probably tell from the team name, Penguins of Dallas, I had quite a few players on bye this week. So to grab a win was pleasing. Connor French moved to the top of the table, I think. We'll check that in a minute, or at least joint top at 8-2 with a win over Spalding Staley's Clock crew. Clue was in the handle from Garmo. He was on the wrong side of Ian's surviving body bag Ben. 34-point victory there. Hallam gets another win there in one of the closest ones by less just over 2 points to get to 5-5. And then the Scottish Patriot moves to 3-7 ahead of Druba at the bottom there, which was sort of the fight for who can stay off the bottom. So Ian and Connor French at 8-2, looking like the two teams who are going to clinch the bye. Kittle Mix PPR and my Penguins will have something to say about that, but we may have to run the table to shove one of them out of there for over the last 4 weeks. Looking further down, Hallam and Garmo at 5-5 are the ones sat in the playoff places. Staley's Clock Crew just one game back, although the points scored is an issue there. And the Scottish Patriot, again, hasn't got the points and is 2 games back. So Division B is looking a little bit more set in stone, which is, but still 4 weeks, so anything can happen. In Division C, Canal Wolves got only their 3rd win of the season with a big win over MKC Papa. Grosy 92 got his 6th win of the season against Stop the Boats at 111. Ginger Mamba was unlucky, poor score, 105 points, absolutely comfortably beaten by Jack Donnelly's 153 scored there. Poor performance from Baby Broncos, who look out of it at this point. Well, don't look out of it, are out of it at this point. Jamie G10, who's obviously doing well in Dynasty. Is he doing well in Dynasty? Yeah, doing well in Dynasty. And he's doing well here, 5-5. The Gumby Beard falls to 8-2 after a really good start to the season. Looks like he's got one of those top 2 spots, but Dingling gets the win they needed. So the Gumby Beard 8-2. 2 wins ahead of the 4 teams at 6-4. We've then got Jamie G wrapping up the current playoff places with 2 teams hot on his tail, Dingling and Jimba Mamba. Canal Wolves with the win this week would probably have to win the last 4, and even then at 7-7 with those points scored, possibly not enough. Baby Broncos almost mathematically out of it. In Division D, it's interesting this time of year because you start like you do get to the point where everything just becomes a little bit more serious. But from a true NFL point of view, you also get to the point where you realize everything's just the same. The Eagles are the same. The Chiefs are the same. I really hope we don't end up with a Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl again. Just not because I have anything against those particular teams, just because I want it, be nice to mix things up. Anyway, I digress. In Division D, a win for Jimmy Nugent to getting back to 5-5. Big Bods really needed that one, falls to 3-7. Jack Donnelly wins with 177 points scored, moves to 8-2. SGAFF 84 is not out of it, but 4-6 is a tough place to recover from. Scottish Patriot falls to 6-4. Bear down LCFC with moves to 5-5. A win for the Cardiff boy in this one. Bronco boy scores 151 points, gets them back to 3-7. Long Pink Snapper falls to 6-4, and a win for Fields of Dreams 6-4. Evdokios is 4-6, so it's all pretty tight apart from Jack Donnelly. So Jack Donnelly leads the way at 8-2, which seems to be the score to have in redraft. No one's betted that through 4 divisions so far. Fields of Dreams, Long Pink Snapper, and Scottish Patriot at 6-4 will all be pretty confident of playoff plays at this point. Jimmy Nugent and Bear Down at LCFC, and then the 2 on the outside who need to pull some wins together, Evdokios and SGAFF. 2 teams at 3-7 there, probably unlikely to make a run at this point. But, like I said, you can win all 4. You just never know. 7-7 might be enough. In Group D, wins for my Thunder Penguins to 7-3, 1 foot in the playoffs. That was a big sort of 6-3 matchup with Random Tasser. He falls to 6-4. Renegade Masters wins to move to 5 and 5 against Team Drift Edge, who's now struggling at 3 and 7. James 87 got an important win to avoid going to 3 and 7, moves to 4 and 6, with sneaks past Galzinho, who's also 4 and 6. Kamishi's Bros Ramalama Ding Dong was unlucky, only 120 points scored, only lost by 9. But Jake LP's hurts to do this tier. Moves to 7 and 3 with 1 foot in the playoffs, and Steph the goalie's Butt Goose suffered their 8th defeat of the season to effectively end their playoff hopes. Finding Nico moves to 6 and 4. So it's my Penguins top at 7 and 3. Hurts to do this to you, also 7 and 3. Ramalama Ding Dong, Finding Nico, and Random Task all 6 and 4, with the Renegade Masters at 5 and 5. Galzinho and James 87 definitely not out of it at 4 and 6. Drift Edge, as we've already talked about, needs to run the table. In Division F, I mean, I'm definitely out of this one. So I suppose being in the mix of 3 out of 4 isn't too bad. My Wall Street Penguins just have never got going. That's the 8th defeat of the season. Could not find anything. I've tried trading, tried picking players up on waivers, just not finding anything. So I'm firmly out of this. 66 Kicks gets the win, moves to 6 and 4. Galzinho gets the win to move to 7 and 3 in a close one. They're the ones you need to win. They're the ones that make the difference and could sneak you into the bye spots at the end of the year. That 5-point win when you've only scored 112 points. Disappointing for Long Ping Snapper, whose season's gone about as well as mine has. Massive score, 222 points. I think that was the score of the weekend for Walden Farms. It moves to 6 and 4, and with a really good point scored. Absolutely smashed Drubit by over 100 points. Team Pestle got a win in redraft to match the win in Dynasty. So Pestle moves to 6 and 4 with that win over Steph the Goalie's Let's Book and Bake. And the return, Brown Bear Rick is doing really well in Division F as well. Return of T-Mac, scored 164 points and beats Bear Down LCFC pretty comfortably. So Brown Bear Rick leads the way. Return of T-Mac 7 and 3. Galzinho also 7 and 3. We've got 4 teams at 6 and 4. MetLife, Pestle, Bear Down, and 66 Kicks. Drubit at 5 and 5, and I think we can count the bottom 3 out based on that. Steph's got an outside chance if she wins the last 4, but I think we're going to see, on the basis of all of that, I think we're going to see over the next week, definitely 2 weeks, we're going to see everything falling into position a little bit, and teams definitely falling away. My team are definitely out of it there. Got to focus on the leagues that you're in then, I suppose. It is one thing I just quickly wanted to mention. The trade deadline in Dynasty was last week. That came a little bit early for me. Took me by surprise, as says the man who organises it all and put the settings in. That is going to be one of the things that we are going to vote on at the end of the year. We've not done this, but we're 2 years in. So we're going to put 3 things up for vote. Number 1 will be when the trade deadline is. Keep it at week 10, move it to week 11, or move it to week 12. The second thing will be the IR spots, whether you want to be able to put players who are designated as out into the IR spots, which is something I know a lot of leagues do, or a lot of leagues have started doing, to sort of free up spots. So that's something we'll be voting on. And the third thing we'll be voting on is bench spots. Obviously, we don't have as bigger rosters as some other dynasty leagues. In fact, most other dynasty leagues. There was a lot of reasons behind that. Obviously, the point of an 8-team dynasty leagues, we want to try and keep it competitive. If anybody does feel for whatever reason they can't continue, it becomes a lot easier because it's charity based. It becomes a lot easier to fill those spots. Most teams can be turned around pretty quickly, but I think there is room for us to extend because it's only 8-team leagues. I think there's room for us to extend the benches a little bit, but that's your call. So we will either look at keeping that or maybe adding a couple of spaces on. So that's the update in terms of that. That's obviously more dynasty than redraft. The other thing in redraft, for those of you who've been paying attention, we've had a cup competition running. Let's bring it back to where am I? Hello. We've had a cup competition running for the first 10 weeks. The link is in your sleeper leagues. So if you haven't noticed that, I did put an update in there yesterday for the challenge. It's called Challenge, and you should be able to see that link. So the link takes you through to this site where if you click on group stage and you scroll down, you'll be able to see your team. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but for example, Division A, Dingling's Division C team went 7-3 in the Cup. Scottish Patriots Division D team went 7-3 in the Cup. They've both gone through. Mezzanine's A team, 66 Kicks F team, and you can see all the matches and everybody, all of that. We are now in the final stages. We have 20 teams that have gone through. So the system was already set up that we would have 12 of those teams on a bye, and 8 of them have to qualify. That was already preset. The website did it for me, so it was all based on where you finished and the score and everything else. It was already preset. There's nothing I can do about that. I wish there was something I could do about it, because the 2 teams of mine that have made it through both got to play a bye. So this week, it's my team from Division E against Drubert's team from Division F. Scottish Patriots team from Division D against Pestil's F team. Mozza from D against Scottish Seahawk Sixers from A. And the big JMD matchup, Hallam from B against my A team, to decide who goes through. In fact, there's a big JMD matchup because it's Hallam against me to see who plays Ian in the next round, which and then you can see all of the teams that have made it through there. So congratulations to everybody there. Obviously, round 1 will take place in week 11. Round 2 will take place in week 12. The quarterfinals will take place in week 13. Semi-finals in week 14. And then the final will be in week 15. So bear that in mind. Keep an eye on this, especially if you make it through to the latter stages, but you've been knocked out of the playoffs, or you don't make that stage. It's still worth putting everything you can into, and I will try and keep everybody up to date on that. Last but not least, we've got the Survivor pod. We had 5 teams. We lost 5 teams this week in Survivor. So if I just bring that up, we are down to 12, 10 weeks in, and the original pool of 41 is now down to 12. So the 5 we lost this week included JMD Ian, second bad pick, second wrong pick in 3 weeks. He trusted his bagels. Oh my word! He trusted his Bengals 3 weeks ago, and this week he trusted the Bills to beat the Dolphins, and that's the end of Ian. The JTT commish also went Scottish Patriot, Brown Bear Rick, and Konski all trusted the Panthers to get the job done against the Saints. So that was the end of those 5, which leaves us with 12. Of those 12, only 2 have both their lives. JMD's Hallam and PM Big Man both have both their lives remaining. This week, there was Jack Donnelly trusted the Panthers to beat the Saints, so he lost his first life. So that's 12. So 12 of us left. 10 have only got 1 life. H and PM Big Man with 2 lives remaining. And that, as they say, is that. Like I say, we're going to get hopefully we're going to get Brown Bear Rick on next week. If anybody else wants to come on as the season comes to a close, talk about how your teams are doing, and basically just give me someone to talk to, so I'm not talking to myself as we go through this, you are more than welcome. Just let me know if you want to be a part of it. Like I said, we'll have Brown Bear Rick on next week to talk about his dynasty team and his redraft teams that are doing really well and who he's sort of targeting towards the end of the year. Anything else you want to see added in? Any stats you want to know? Let me know. Keep an eye on. Congratulations to everyone who's through to the Dynasty Divisional Cup final and through to the next stages in the Redraft Cup. Hopefully everyone's enjoying the season and getting involved in all of our leagues. We do appreciate your support. And look out for the update next week.